He thought his wedding day would be the crowning achievement of his carefully constructed life of lies, but he didn't realize that by throwing his mother-in-law out like trash, he was throwing away the keys to his own kingdom. David believed that a woman in a traditional African dress had no place among the silk and diamonds of his elite guests, and he called her a stain on his reputation. Little did he know that the poor woman he humiliated was the silent giant holding the strings to his entire fortune, and the gift box he almost threw away contained the power to turn him into a beggar before the wedding cake was even cut. Welcome to our channel, where we bring you the most gripping stories of justice and hidden truth. Before we dive into today's incredible story, we want to get to know you better. Who are our viewers today? What city or country are you watching us from? Drop a comment below and let us know. And if you love stories where the underdog wins and arrogance gets a reality check, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a huge thumbs up right now. Your support helps us bring more of these life-changing stories to you every single day. Let's begin. The morning of the wedding was as golden as David's ambitions. Standing before the mirror in a $3,000 tuxedo, he didn't see a man but a masterpiece. To the world, David was a self-made investment prodigy, but in reality, he was a house of cards built on high interest, loans, and a desperate need for approval. His fiancée Lisa was the only genuine thing in his life. She was beautiful, kind, and deeply in love with the version of David he allowed her to see. She didn't care about his cars or his office overlooking the city, but David cared about nothing else. He had spent months curating every detail of this wedding to impress the city's elite. The guest list was a who's who of venture capitalists and socialites. Everything had to be perfect. The flowers were flown in from Holland, and the champagne cost more than a teacher's annual salary. The venue was a sprawling historic estate that David claimed to have purchased as a wedding gift for Lisa. It was a lie, of course. He was months behind on the mortgage, but he was certain that one big deal would save him. Then she arrived. Zara, Lisa's mother, had traveled thousands of miles to see her only daughter marry. She appeared at the gates not in a limousine, but in a simple taxi. She wore a vibrant traditional African outfit that celebrated her heritage. Rich oranges and deep purples stood out like a flame against the monochrome elegance of the wedding theme. In her hands she carried a modest woven basket filled with fruits and a small hand-wrapped box. When David saw her through the window of the bridal suite, his blood ran cold. To him, she wasn't a guest or a mother, she was an eyesore. She was the physical manifestation of the lowly beginnings he had tried so hard to bury. He watched as she hugged Lisa, both of them crying with joy. But all David could think about was what his business partners would say. He rushed down the stairs, his face a mask of fake smiles for the guests, but his eyes were daggers. He caught Zara by the arm as she was trying to present her basket to the catering staff. He pulled her into a secluded alcove behind the grand marble pillars of the foyer. The air was thick with the scent of lily, but the words David spoke were pure poison. He told her she looked like a street vendor. He told her that her presence was an embarrassment, and that he had told everyone Lisa's family were European diplomats. He called her dress a costume and her gift a pile of garbage. Zara stood there with a dignity that David could never buy. She didn't shout or cry. She simply looked at him with eyes that seemed to see right through his expensive suit. She saw into the hollow space where his soul should have been. David didn't stop there. He summoned his security team and told them that an intruder had wandered onto the property. He watched as they escorted the mother of the bride toward the gate like a common criminal. Before she left, Zara turned and placed the small hand-wrapped box on a side table. She told him that she had hoped he was the man her daughter deserved, but that she finally saw him for what he truly was. "A small man in a big suit," she whispered. She walked out of the gates with her head held high, leaving David feeling powerful. But the silence she left behind was the beginning of his end. The ceremony proceeded, but the atmosphere had shifted. Lisa was heartbroken, having been told by David that her mother felt overwhelmed by the environment and decided to leave early. The lie tasted like ash in David's mouth, but he pushed through. He laughed and clinked glasses with men who only liked him for the money they thought he had. As the sun began to set and the last of the guests departed, the weight of the day began to settle. David felt like a king who had successfully defended his castle. He found the small box Zara had left behind sitting on the mahogany table. He laughed to himself, thinking it was probably some cheap wooden trinket. He almost threw it into the trash can, but curiosity got the better of him. He tore away the simple paper and opened the lid. There were no beads. There was no wood. Inside was a heavy silver key and a folded stack of legal documents. David's hands began to shake as he unfolded the papers. It was a deed of sale. He recognized the address immediately. It was the very estate they were standing on. He turned to the second page to see the name of the new owner. It wasn't his name. It wasn't the bank's name. The property had been purchased in full 24 hours ago by a global conglomerate called Z Holdings. David felt the floor drop out from under him. He knew that name. Z Holdings was the firm he had been desperately trying to court for an investment to save his failing company. He flipped to the final page, the signature page. There in bold, elegant script was the name of the chairperson and CEO of Z Holdings, Zara Okoro. The poor woman he had kicked out of his wedding wasn't just Lisa's mother. She was the woman who now owned his home, his debt, and his future. Just as the realization hit him, the heavy oak doors of the foyer swung open. Standing there was a man in a sharp black suit, carrying a briefcase. Mr. Blackwood, the most feared corporate lawyer in the city. He informed David that his grace period had ended. Zara had been watching David's career for a long time, waiting to see if he was worthy of her daughter. She had bought his debts to give him a fresh start as a wedding gift. But after witnessing his cruelty, she had changed her mind. The lawyer told David that Z Holdings was foreclosing on everything. The cars, the office, and the very house he was standing in were now property of Zara. David fell to his knees, pleading for a second chance. Mr. Blackwood simply said that a man who is only kind when he knows there is a profit to be made is not a man at all. Lisa stood at the top of the stairs, having heard everything. The veil was finally lifted from her eyes. She walked down the stairs, took off her diamond ring, and dropped it into the trash can. She walked past him without a word, heading toward the gates. A black limousine was waiting. Zara was inside waiting for her daughter. David was left alone in a darkened mansion that no longer belonged to him. He had wanted to look like a billionaire for one night and ensured he would be a beggar for the rest of his life. True wealth isn't found in a tuxedo or a guest list. It's found in the way we treat those who can do nothing for us. If you enjoyed this story of ultimate justice, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Your support allows us to keep sharing these powerful lessons with the world. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next story.